Welcome. I'm Ellen Steinberg, and I chair the Senior Citizen Council. The Council is a nonprofit organization founded 50 years ago, assisting older adults and their families. We publish the Senior News, which hopefully some of you have seen. We also hold various events. We do an annual health fair. We do several topics on finances, technology, even remaining at home. Last year, we did a presentation on property tax relief, which we gave at several senior centers throughout New Jersey. This is Peter Humphreys. He's a finance attorney. This year, we're doing the presentation on property tax online because of COVID. And if you're wondering why we're not social distancing or why we're not wearing masks, we're married.
It's true. Well, thank you, Ellen. Hello, everybody. We're going to talk to you about 5 property tax relief programs today. Unfortunately, they all have different rules. They have different income requirements, and they even have different filing deadlines. So the best we can do today is give you an overview, which we hope will be helpful. And obviously, whether you qualify depends on your individual circumstances. But we hope you'll get enough information so you can determine whether one of these programs is applicable to you. Now, there's a lot of detailed information we're going to get into in this presentation. So in order to help, we provided an outline which details some of the information. Here's the outline. You can get this outline on our website, which is njseniorcouncil.com. So let's talk about the 5 programs in New Jersey. First of all, we've got the Senior Freeze. Second, Homestead Benefit. Third, Senior Citizens Annual Property Tax Deduction. Then we have Veterans Property Tax Relief. And then finally, we're going to talk about the New Jersey State Income Tax Relief Property Tax Deduction. The first program we're going to discuss is the Senior Freeze. And why are we doing that first? Well, the deadline for an application for Senior Freeze this year is November 2nd, 2020. Secondly, it's probably the program where you can get the most money over time. And thirdly, they send you a check. So what can you get? Well, you get a partial reimbursement of your past year's paid property taxes. You get a check from the state for the difference between the property taxes you paid last year and those you paid in what's called your base year. Now, your base year is established when you meet the eligibility requirements. We'll get into that in a bit more detail a bit later on. So how do you qualify? Well, first of all, you have to have paid your past property taxes. It's a reimbursement program. You have to have paid 2018 and 2019 property taxes in full. You've got to have lived in New Jersey continuously since December 31st, 2008. You could be a homeowner or a renter, but you have to be in New Jersey since 2008. You have to have owned and lived in your house since December 31st, 2015, and you've got to still be living in the house on December 31st, 2019. There are age or disability requirements. You either have to be 65 or older on December 31st, 2018, that's a different year, 2018, or you've got to be receiving disability benefits from Social Security. And then we come to income requirements. What are the income requirements? You have to have an income in 2019 that's less than $91,505. And in 2018, your income has to be less than $89,013. And the same limit applies to single people and married couples. Now, why are these funny numbers? Well, the reason is originally it was a fixed amount, but then it was increased by the Social Security cost of living increases. And that's why it's gone up to this $91,505. So what does income mean for purposes of Senior Freeze? Income basically means all your income. So it includes your Social Security payments, it includes your pension payments, it includes withdrawals from your 401k or IRA, Now, there are some limited exceptions, such as a payment under a life insurance policy, but basically, income for purposes of senior freeze means everything you've got.
And this income is very important to determining what your base year is going to be. And your base year is key in when your property taxes are going to be frozen. So let's talk about base year. Your base year is the first year you meet the eligibility requirements. Your senior freeze check will be the difference between the property taxes you paid last year and the property taxes you paid in your base year. Let's talk base year for a first-time filer. You're now filing for your 2019 senior freeze. You're going to meet all of your eligibility requirements, and the check you're going to get is going to be the difference between what you paid in property taxes in 2019 and what you paid in property taxes in 2018. And chances are they probably went up, so you are going to be getting a check for that difference. And then that 2018 year is going to be your base year. So what about if you've filed for this before? Maybe you filed it 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Let's assume 2005 was your base year. Now you're going to get the difference between property taxes you paid in 2019 and what you paid in property taxes in 2005. This can be a lot of money. You can get a check for $2,000, $3,000, $4,500. I had a gentleman who had a check for $7,300. So that's why filing is important. That's why your base year and your freeze is important. So, how do you get into this program? How do you apply? If you're a first-time filer, you're going to file a PTR1 and a PTR1A. The 1A is the certification from your local tax collector that you did in fact pay your property taxes in 2018 and 2019. If you filed for senior freeze in the past, you're filing a PTR2, which incorporates your personal information. Because remember, you've already established your base year. So you have all your personal information, and then you're also going to need to file that certification. So some of you may have seen these booklets. This is the 2001 for first-time filers, and this is the PTR2 that you would have gotten in the mail. They're booklets. They kind of seem a little bit daunting, but reality, by the time you get to the application portion, it's only a couple pages. You check a couple boxes off, and you're done with the application. And the important one is the certification that you're going to need to have signed by the tax collector's office. The deadline for this is November 2nd, 2020, so it is coming up. It is important. You have to mail these applications in. If you haven't gotten your PTR2 and you filed for it in the past, you're going to call the state up and you're going to have them mail you out a PTR2. You have to file by paper. If you're filing for the first time, you can get a PTR1 form either at the tax collector's office or you can get it online. But remember, they must be postmarked no later than November 2nd, 2020.
So how much are you going to get from this program? Well, first-time recipients this year, on average, are going to get around $230. And continuing recipients, that is people who've been in the program for a number of years, are going to get on average over $1,400. And as Ellen said, there may be people who get much more than that. Now the big question is, when are you going to get the check, Ellen?
Well, the state of New Jersey has said we are getting the checks. They're beginning to mail them out October 15th. So hopefully if you filed back in March or April, your check should be there. If you haven't filed yet, I suspect it's going to take a little bit longer.
Let's hope that happens. The second program we're going to talk about is Homestead Benefit. This was also a program where you used to get a check. But over time, the program's been changed, and now you don't get a check. You get a rebate on your property taxes. And it's also got delayed. So at the moment, it's running 3 years behind. So what can you get? You can get a property tax credit of up to 10% of your 2006 property taxes, but not more than $1,000. Now, that's right. I said 2006 property tax. The measuring stick is what was paid in property taxes on your house back in 2006. That's just how the program works. How do you qualify? Well, let's talk about how you would have qualified for the 2017 Homestead Benefit, the last one you could have qualified for. Well, you must have paid all of your 2017 property taxes in full. You must be a New Jersey resident. You must have owned and occupied your house in New Jersey on October 1st, 2017. If you're over 65 years old or blind or disabled, you had to have income less than $150,000. And if you're under 65, your income had to be less than $75,000. The same limits apply to single people and married couples. So what does income mean for homestead benefit purposes? Well, it's not the same as income for senior freeze. Income for homestead benefit purposes means your New Jersey gross income as shown on your income tax form. So you have to look at your 2017 income tax form to find out what that was. It doesn't include Social Security because New Jersey doesn't tax Social Security. Let's talk about the actual amount of benefit you can get. If you're over 65 or disabled and your New Jersey gross income is less than $100,000, you can get the lesser of 10% of your 2006 property taxes or $1,000. If you earn between $100,000 and $150,000, you get 5% of your 2006 property taxes or $500. If you are under 65 and you're not disabled, then if you have an income that's less than $50,000, you get 10% of your 2006 property taxes or $1,000, whatever's less. And if you have between $50,000 and $75,000 in income, then you get the lesser of 6.675 of your 2,000% of your 2006 property taxes, or $667.
The filing deadline for homestead benefit has already passed. It was December 2nd, 2019. So you've already filed for your 2017 homestead benefit. Normally you'd get a credit for this on your tax bill 3 years later, but not this year. The state of New Jersey, the governor's office, and the state legislature passed a budget, and you will now be getting your homestead benefit credit for 2017. You'll be getting it in 2021. So you will be getting in 2021 money you paid in property taxes 4 years ago.
So the big question, Ellen, is what's happening about 2018 homestead benefit? When are we going to see that one?
It's to be determined. They have still not decided what they're doing with applications, so it's a wait and see what's going to happen in 2018. And as you know, 2017 homestead benefit deadline has already passed. It was last year, but you can call the New Jersey Homestead Benefit Hotline if you have any questions about your past filing.
All right, the next two programs we're going to talk about are both administered by your local tax assessor, and they're both prospective in nature. Senior Freeze, you applied in 2020 for 2019. Homestead Benefit, you applied in 2019 for 2017. In these two programs, you apply this year, 2020, and you get the benefits on your property taxes in 2021. So let's talk about the first of these, which is the Senior Citizens Annual Property Tax Deduction. So what can you get? You get an annual deduction of $250 from your property taxes. How do you qualify for this program? Well, first of all, you've got to be resident on October the 1st, 2020 in your house. And you've got to be a legal resident of New Jersey since October the 1st, 2019. You've got to be more than 65 years old on December 31st, 2020, or disabled, or a surviving spouse of somebody who was previously gained the benefit. The income requirements are quite small here. The income requirement, your annual income for 2020 has to be less than $10,000. However, unlike the other programs, this does not include Social Security or state pension payments. So, not counting your Social Security and not count all your state pension, you have to have less than $10,000 in income to qualify.
Now, in order to apply for this program, yes, more forms, but this is a very simple form, just a page, a certification about your income. Where do you get the form? It is called a PTD form for first-time filers. You'll get it at your local tax office. And if you're filing as a disabled person, because you can also get the 250 credit as a disabled person, you'll need to attach a physician's or a Social Security disability certificate or a New Jersey Commission of Blind certificate. The filing period goes to the end of the year for the 2021 tax year. The PTD form is available at your local municipal tax assessor. The only other form you're going to need is an annual post-year income statement, which will certify that you did in fact stay within the income qualification, and that will set up your eligibility for the following year. If you have any questions, please speak to your local tax office.
The second program that's administered by your local tax office is the Veterans Property Tax Relief Program. Now, at the moment, in order to qualify for this program, a veteran has to have served in an active wartime service period. Now, what does that mean? Well, as you probably guess, it means a period in which we were fighting a war. But there are some periods, for example, between the Korean War and the Vietnam War, where even though a person was a veteran, they weren't actually fighting in one of those periods. And at the moment, they're not eligible for this program. However, we think that's about to change.
There is currently a constitutional amendment on the ballot providing this property tax relief benefit to all veterans, whether they served in peacetime or during active wartime. We think our servicemen and servicewomen should be thanked. And if you haven't voted already, just turn over your ballot. There are 3 ballot questions. This is ballot question number 2. It will ask if this property tax relief should be given to our veterans, and we strongly support this.
So if this gets passed, which we hope it will, think it will, then it will be, the provision will become effective on December 3rd, 2020, and all veterans will be able to apply for these benefits following that date. All right, what you get on the Veterans Property Tax Benefit? You get an annual deduction of $250 from your property taxes for veterans and surviving spouses of veterans. Or if, heaven forbid, you're 100% disabled, you'll get a full exemption from your property taxes in New Jersey. Okay, how do you qualify for this benefit? What's the eligibility requirements for getting the $250 credit? You must have been honorably discharged. You must own your property on October 1st, 2020 and be a legal resident in New Jersey on that date. And there is no income test. So there's no need to show income of any description to get this benefit. Surviving spouses have to show that the spouse met those requirements at one point. For the 100% exemption eligibility requirements, you must own your house, you must be a legal resident, but you also must get a determination from the VA that you have a service-connected disability and were declared to be 100% permanently disabled.
If you're filing for the 250 tax reduction, you're going to need complete a VSS. You'll need to submit that with a proof of honorable discharge, which is a DD 214. You're only going to need to do this once. If you're filing for the 100% exemption, it's Form DVSSE, again with the honorable discharge form, the DD 214, and confirmation of VA approval that you are 100% permanently and totally disabled. These forms and proofs need to go to your local tax assessor for approval. If you're filing for the $250 tax reduction, you need to file it by the end of this year for the 2021 tax year. As Peter said, we're filing prospectively for this. And if you're filing for the 100% exemption, you can file any time. Form VSS and the DVSS are available online or through your local municipal tax office.
Okay, the last program we're going to talk to you about today is state income tax relief. So what can you get under this program? When you file your income tax returns, you can either take a deduction from your taxable income, or you can get a tax credit. If you're a homeowner, the deduction is equal to the lesser of the property tax you should pay, or $15,000. If you're a tenant, a renter, and this is the first time we've talked about renters or tenants in this presentation, you can get a deduction of 18% of your rent that you paid during the year. Or either can take a tax credit of $50. How do you apply? You simply file a New Jersey resident tax return. If you file a New Jersey tax return, you can take the property tax deduction on line 39 or the property tax credit on line 55, but you can't take both. Now, we've found that many people were just routinely taking the $50 tax credit, but it may actually be more advantageous to take the deduction because you don't pay tax on the amount of the deduction. So it's worthwhile to complete worksheet H in the tax forms to see if a credit or deduction is best for you.
The due date for your state income tax relief deduction was July 15th, 2020, when you filed your state income tax return. You can file an amendment if you hadn't gotten the $50 credit or somehow you missed this. There's more information on the website at the Division of Taxation, or you can call them, or you can call your tax preparer. We hope this program has been helpful. We have an outline that details all of the information that we've reviewed. It's on our website at njseniorcouncil.com, or you can just call us. These relief programs return your property taxes. This is money you've already paid. It's your money, and it can make the difference in remaining in your home. We thank you for watching, and stay well.
Thank you for watching.